The Dungeons & Dragons movie is coming out this week and I got to see it early. So, should you go see it? Should you? Ethically? Hi everyone, this is another video without a script. I promise it's just a D&D movie review. We're not going to talk about capitalism a lot. But please give me money on Patreon. I need it for rent and food. So before we get into the D&D movie review, first I want to take a little second to talk about the open gaming license situation and its resolution, because it was resolved. We did it, gamers. For those of you who are out of the loop and didn't watch 4 videos about this a day in January, Wizards of the Coast was going to change the open gaming license to require people to register their homebrew stuff and also pay them after they made $750,000, and also change all of the stuff that they already made in homebrew to comply with the new document, and also it kinda said that they could steal your work. All of that was pretty bad, and the community rallied together, canceled our D&D Beyond subscriptions, and then Wizards of the Coast said, whoopsie doopsie, it was just a draft, how embarrassing, and then redacted it and put 5e into Creative Commons. So it's actually better than what most people were asking for. I didn't see that coming, to be honest. However, Big Company was trying to do bad thing. So can we keep supporting bad company? Well, some people think, no. You can't do Dungeons & Dragons anymore because Wizards of the Coast was bad 2 months ago. Instead, you have to tie your entire identity to a different board game and change all of your content to it, even if you've never played it before, and really just want to learn the rules slowly at your own pace so that it's fun, and not a horrible crunch that makes you hate the game you're learning to play. Not speaking for anyone specifically here. I guess I'll address it really quick because people keep asking, am I moving to Pathfinder? Am I moving to 1D&D? And the answer is, I don't know. I have a bunch of videos done. They're good to go up through June. I'll decide in June. That's the official answer. I didn't start making D&D content until I had played D&D for 3 years. I've played 4 sessions of Pathfinder 2e in the past 3 months, and I'm proud of getting more than 1 monthly session in. That's good considering schedules are the hardest boss of all tabletop RPGs. But I'm also not really in a rush to talk about a system I don't know the ins and outs of yet. Also, there are other channels that do what I do in Pathfinder already, so just go watch them. I don't need to steal views from them. You can just, check them out. Everyone was reminded of how shady Wizards of the Coast was when they announced their Creator Summit and started inviting a bunch of creators to come to Wizards of the Coast headquarters and have lunch or something. I don't know, I wasn't invited. Not jealous at all. Happy for all of you. But you know the internet can't resist a good discourse, so we had to talk about whether or not it was ethical for the people to go, whether they would be going to represent themselves and maybe help change Wizards of the Coast for the future, or if Wizards of the Coast would spread their tendrils of influence all over these influencers. And the answer is, probably a bit of both. Everyone who's going is going to have good input on what the games are moving forward, and yeah, getting a cool trip where you get to meet a bunch of cool people, that's gonna make you feel a little more favorable towards the company. Yeah, I don't think either of those things are really going to have that much material impact though. Maybe they will and your favorite creators will become evil corporate shills, but I doubt it. My experience as a D&D content creator, I've gotten this Dragonlance book for free, which is like $50. And the rest of my support has come from my community, all of you. So if I had to choose between Wizards of the Coast and the community, I choose you. And I think most content creators feel the same way. Overall, I think people might just be a little too lost in that fuck Wizards sauce. I mean, fuck Wizards, sure, but there are plenty of ways to play D&D that don't support Wizards of the Coast. For example, the 5e SRD is all Creative Commons. You can just find that on the internet for free, and then you can do homebrew stuff like my homebrew on my Patreon. Go join it, please. Or other great homebrew creators who have been working in 5e forever and count on D&D fans for their livelihood, and definitely had nothing to do with the decisions at Wizards of the Coast. They're independent creators, they don't get a say. Oh, but now there's the Creator Summit, so they get a little bit of a say. Very small bit of say, but a little bit of a say. Small say. Speaking of people who had no decision in that, the designers of 5e probably didn't get to make the call on the legalese of the OGL. They were just designing subclasses and stuff, so everybody who sent them a death threat email, screw you. Also though, as someone who gets death threats for, making Ben 10 a bard, you're gonna get death threats. That's the internet. The internet's a place where you get death threats for doing really small, immaterial things. I hate it here. So overall, how would I grade the collective action? I'd say we did okay. Hitting D&D where it hurts and canceling your D&D beyond subscriptions was cool. Boycotts are pretty effective when you can get enough of the consumer base to participate, and it looks like we did. Congratulations to us. But in the future, maybe we leave journalism to the journalists, don't publish inflammatory stuff that might not be true, where you say, oh, all the designers of Wizards of the Coast think that you suck shit, and then be like, oh no, why is everyone so mad at the designers? What could have caused this?
We're all trying to find the guy who did this and give him a spanking.
No, like, you know what caused it. It's fun to be mad at corporations. Corporations suck. But letting it consume your entire identity or your YouTube channel is maybe not the best idea. I know people think that I go on too many anti-capitalism rants, but at most I do it like once a week. I wasn't making 4 videos a week saying OGL bad when we didn't have new news. That's kind of shitty, and it just gets people in this state where they're not able to stop thinking about it for a second, and they're just stressed for like 2 weeks. I make Homebrew stuff. I was stressed for 2 weeks. It was a bad 2 weeks. But also, like, it wasn't that bad. I talked about this in another video, but if, like, board game bad, go to new board game. It's not that big of a deal. If your audience was big enough that you were supporting your entire livelihood with that board game, your audience is still big enough for you to move over. You're gonna have a rough couple months, but the transition shouldn't be too bad. And if it was just a supplement of your income, it's a supplement of your income. Like, it sucks, that's bad, but you can just move your audience over. That's why they're doing the Creator Summit. They are trying to get influencers to bring their audience back to D&D and stop being mad in D&D YouTube video comment sections saying, why haven't you switched to Pathfinder? They want you to stop, and so do I. I know this sounds like corporate chill hour, and trust me, Wizards of the Coast is gonna do something shitty the day after I post this video. It's almost guaranteed at this point, but currently it doesn't look like Wizards of the Coast is doing active harm to the community. Unless you're like a druid or a paladin main. But that's a joke. Like, they made classes worse. Oh no. I also know that I'm gonna get some people who are like, Phil, you say don't play wizard game because J.K. Rowling is a TERF. How is that different? And the answer is, 1, TERF way worse than tried to do plagiarism. Like, TERF is a lot worse than tried to do plagiarism and also stopped. Still TERFing, not still trying to do a plagiarism. That's different. Was trying to do a plagiarism 2 months ago is actively contributing to genocidal rhetoric towards a group of marginalized people who have laws being passed against them in countries and states all over the world. This is worse than tried to do a plagiarism 2 months ago and stopped. Does that make sense? Again, I am not saying that what Wizards of the Coast was trying to do with the OGL was cool and that we shouldn't have stopped it. I'm glad we did. I make Homebrew and I'd like to keep making it. But it's overall pretty small potatoes in the grand scheme of capitalism, which we're now going to talk about ethical consumption under capitalism. Woohoo. Reminder, everyone, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism does not mean I get to do whatever I want because everything I do is going to be kind of bad anyway. That's not what it means. What it means is you have to eat, and most of your food is probably made by slaves in some way. Remember when the green M&M was less sexy a few months ago? And then there was a big right-wing boycott because it was harder to jerk off to the green M&M, or I guess less hard? Less hard, more difficult. That's it. Well, it turns out the Mars Corporation was getting in trouble for doing child slavery. So those protesters were accidentally based. Oh no. That's a no ethical consumption under capitalism thing. Now that you know that Mars did child slavery, maybe avoid Mars candies. Except another pillar of no ethical consumption under capitalism is all these corporations are kind of trying to hide what they do, where they do it. Like, how many candy bars are Mars and how many are Hershey's? Are those 2 different companies? I don't actually know. Maybe I should have looked it up before this video, but there's no script. I'm just talking. Overall, your impact on the evils of capitalism is small. You can't really do anything by yourself, which is why collective action, like when everybody quit their D&D Beyond account, is kind of the move. It's really rare and hard to do that. It's very cool that we managed to do it as a community. I'm very proud of us for getting that far to do a collective action. That's rad. The best way to do collective action yourself is to support local elections, vote in primaries, and support local unions if you can. If you can't because, you know, capitalism has you scraping by every month to barely make enough to eat, then don't do that. But when you can, support independent creators. So, should you see the D&D movie? Yeah, if you want. The world is getting worse every day, and that's pretty depressing. Maybe you need a couple hours off. So if you want to see a fun fantasy movie with good acting, cool effects, a plot that kind of keeps moving, and good direction and visuals and choreography in the fights and whatnot, go check out the D&D movie. It's really good. I'd say it's like Stardust if you have seen Stardust. Maybe try and see it at a local theater, though, if that's an option, and probably don't buy M&Ms. And if you're looking to support an independent D&D content creator, I'm one of those. That's so wild. I've got 11 subclasses, one for all of the existing classes, and a whole new class, the Accelerator, over on my Patreon. You can go check that out, and there's a bunch of spells. We've just started adding monsters. There's a whole bunch of adventure you can run for your party without having to give wizards the coast to set. Check out my other channel, Tulok and Mango, to watch me play Elden Ring, and follow me on Twitch if you want to watch me rant these videos out before recording them.